All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about rumors that Errol Spence Jr. has refused to give Terence Crawford 50-50 for their fight, but turned around and gave the same offer to YORDENIS Ugas. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and again, thank you to the supporters and subscribers of the channel that continue to watch the videos. If you are new to the channel or you have not subscribed, I hope that you accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. And when you do, make sure that you hit that bell icon so that you can get the notification to get all of the videos that we release. And make sure you hit all notifications. Otherwise, you'll just get them occasionally. So make sure you do that, and also hit that like button before you leave the video. So here we go. Wake up this morning. Comments in my comment sections, questions in the live stream about reports that came out about Ariel Spinks Jr.'s, the financials behind Ariel Spence Jr. and YORDENIS Ugas' fight. So this is what I heard, and I'm going to give you, and also, you know, I understand if this is true, it sounds funny as it relates to Terence Crawford. So the purse for Errol Spence Jr. is supposed to be $1 million with a 50% of the pay-per-view. And then YORDENIS Ugas, also $1 million flat fee of guarantee with 50% of the pay-per-view, right? So people are like, what do you think about that? And here's my take. As far as the $1 million guarantee for Errol Spence Jr., there's nothing new about that. Errol Spence Jr.'s purse for Sean Porter was $1.25 million, something like that. For other fights, it's been similar, right around the 1.1, you know, 1 million flat, 1.1, 1.2, something like that every time that I've heard about an Errol Spence Jr.'s purse, right? So that portion of it does not surprise me. So people will say, well, how do they make their money? Well, here's the obvious thing. You have the gate and you have the pay-per-view. And he's fighting in Dallas Stadium. If you fight in Dallas Stadium and you sell 47,000 tickets like he did versus Mikey Garcia, and the average ticket price is somewhere around, you know, $200, and I think that's a little bit on the low end, but say it's at 200,000, right? I mean, $200. Then you're going to get a gate, you know, of over $6 million, right? Somewhere in the $6 million range for your gate. Then you have a pay-per-view, and say the pay-per-view sells roughly 300,000 pay-per-view, and you do that at $75 a pop. You're looking at about $30 million for the pay-per-view. So, and you're looking at between $6 and $10 million for the gate, right? Whatever it winds up being. So you're looking at a fight that could be around a $40 million fight. $40 million fight is going to generate, even, and you take what Bob Arum said, and that 80% of the money that's generated for fights go to the boxer, right? So 80% of that, if you save $40 million, 80% of that is roughly $32 million. And if he gets 50% of that, it's $15 million, 15 point something, and $15 million, right? There you go. That is what you would get based off if it was a 50-50 split, something like that, right? 80, that you add up the gate, and that's just some of the things. You add up the gate, you add up the pay-per-view, right? You have the guarantee. You probably subtract the guarantee from the money that you wind up making, but that's pretty much where you wind up making the majority of your money. Now, the difference is, and the reason why Errol Spence Jr. would not have a high purse is because the purse is the guaranteed money that you're going to get, right? So when Canelo Alvarez fought Caleb Plant, he got a $40 million guarantee, or he got a $40 million purse, right? So he is pretty much saying, I want all my money up front. I'm not taking any chances on what happened to the pay-per-view. And then if they get over and above that, then he'll make some money. Where Errol Spence Jr. is pretty much doing, you know, taking all of the risk and saying, look, I'm going to get whatever the gate is. I'm going to get my portion of the of the pay-per-view, and I'm going to make good money there. And he's not going to go for the guarantee, right? Which say he may get a higher guarantee of like $5 million, but not get as much money out of the gate, not get as much money out of the pay-per-view, right? So that is basically the way my understanding of the finances work. Now, here's what does not sound right to me. When somebody tells me that YORDENIS Ugas is going to get 50% of the pay-per-view from Errol Spence Jr., YORDENIS Ugas fight, that right there does not make sense to me. Because there is no reason, or 50% of the gate, because Ariel Spinks Jr. is clearly the attraction in this particular fight, and that would be, other than what Deontay Wilder did with Tyson Fury, that would be unheard of, and there's no real need for Errol Spence Jr. to do that. So as far as the guaranteed purses that I heard, that makes sense to me, that it would be $1 million guaranteed, $1 million guarantee. That's consistent with what Adrian Bronner said, how they were doing the fights. It's how the PBC was doing fights, or paying the fighters, giving them a guaranteed, and then they get paid off the pay-per-view, they get paid off the gate. It makes sense because that's how Gervonta Davis, that's what Gervonta Davis's purse was, $1 million, and then he got money on the pay-per-view. That's just how those guys are doing business. However, the 50% going to YORDENIS Ugas out of the pay-per-view, or 50% going out of the gate, that doesn't make sense to me, because Errol Spence Jr. is clearly the larger attraction and is clearly the guy fighting in his hometown and is driving it. Now, as far as it relates to Errol Spence, it relates to Terence Crawford. And that's another reason why I don't believe that he would offer YORDENIS Ugas, that they would give YORDENIS Ugas 50% of the pay-per-view, because they're not giving that to Terence Crawford. However, if Terence Crawford if he did do that type of arrangement with YORDENIS Ugas, and that really is what it is, I don't know if that scenario makes it easier to make a Terence Crawford fight, because is Terence Crawford going to take $1 million? Is he going to take $1 million purse, right, for that fight? Or is he going to want $5-6 million guarantee to take the fight, and then he's going to want 50% of the pay-per-view? If he wants to do that, Errol's not going to do that, because he's making $1 million, and that would be making Terence Crawford make significantly more money than Errol Spence Jr. in that fight. So, my take on it is that the $1 million makes sense for Errol Spence Jr., because that's what he's been doing. That's not a surprise. That's old news. It's news, but it is something we know that has happened in the past. As far as a 50-50 split with YORDENIS Ugas, that's where I think people are probably getting a little bit colorful, because it doesn't seem like he would really need to do that, especially seeing as YORDENIS Ugas, if he didn't have Errol Spence Jr. fight, would be fighting for significantly less money off pay-per-view with Stanosis. So the leverage there just doesn't make sense to me. But at the same time, if it was the case that where it was equal and he gave that to Errol, he gave that to YORDENIS Ugas, then there would be no reason not to give it to Terence Crawford, right? Because Terence Crawford is a bigger name and is bringing more to the table, really, than YORDENIS Ugas. But, like I say, I would take it with a grain of salt. They're not going to really honestly give those type of numbers out. It doesn't make sense to me, at least that 50% portion. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.